Good morning, Wine Club members. Welcome to Rockaway Vineyards. This is Bonnie. I'm your retail manager for anybody that has not met me yet. I do look forward to hosting you and getting an opportunity to meet you in the near future. But in the meantime, we are very excited to be with you today, and we have something very special in store. So come on, follow me and let's go see what's inside waiting for us. Good afternoon, Wine Club members. This is Bonnie, the retail manager here at Rockaway Vineyards, and I'm sitting with Darcy, our cellar master. How are you, Darcy?
Hi, how are you?
So, Darcy, tell me a little bit about the wine selection and the process that went into this wine.
So this is for the Riesling. It's a state fruit from the vineyard, and it was particularly nice for 2020. So we decided to do something special for the wine club, and we decided on a barrel fermented Riesling using Indigenous yeast. It was a very interesting process watching the wine ferment. Generally, Rieslings aren't fermented in oak barrels. They're done in stainless steel tanks. But in some parts of France and Germany, this is a very popular way of making Riesling. The Riesling was in barrel for 2.5 months. And after it was done fermenting, we then transferred it over to a stainless steel tank and put that inside of our walk-in fridge to be able to help stabilize it.
That's a lot of work and great information that you've shared with us on the process, Darcy. So some people might not know what Indigenous yeast is. Tell us about that.
Indigenous yeast, it's also sometimes called wild yeast, is a way of beginning the fermentation of grapes using only the yeast that is present on the grapes themselves. In commercial wineries, we use commercially produced yeasts, but in this case here, we thought that it would be an interesting process to allow the natural yeast that was already on the Riesling grapes to do the job for us of fermenting this wine.
Interesting. Thank you for sharing that. The next question I have for you is, tell us about the label. It definitely does not look like your typical label that you have put on our wine bottles in the past, or that if you go into the LCBO and purchase. Why this label? What does it represent?
Well, a couple of months ago, you and I were in the winery. We were trying to exactly figure out what kind of label we were going to put on this bottle. And as we were speaking, we noticed that all of our stainless steel tanks have labels on them, and it's exactly the same design as what's on the bottle. And we wanted it to be something that came directly from the winery rather than something that looked like it had been highly processed like other wines might be. So once we decided on what the labels would look like, we wanted to make them even that much more special. So each bottle is numbered, and I've also signed each of them as well.
So let's talk a little bit about the wine now, Darcy.
When you pour the wine into the glass, your first impression is going to be of mandarins. And if you leave it in the glass for a minute or two, you'll notice that the aromas turn more towards green apple and apple blossoms. Another very interesting property of barrel fermented Rieslings is the mouthfeel. In the industry, we normally talk about the wine being fat or fatter. It's more of a full mouthfeel, particularly that you can feel on the tongue. The one thing about this Riesling is that it is a very young wine. And for that reason, it really should be drunk young. This is not a wine for aging. So really, it should be consumed in the next 6 to 8 months at the very latest. Being a young wine, it's important to let it rest in the bottle for a couple of weeks before you first open it. If you could wait a month, that would even be great.
Wonderful. So, Wine Club members, that anticipation, we promise, will be well worth the wait. So, take it from our cellar master on his advice. So, Darcy, let's talk a little bit about the food pairing, and the selection that was made was actually selected by you, and I know it is near and dear to your heart. Tell us why that is.
I chose to pair this wine with the turkey a la king, which happens to be my mother's recipe. I actually sat down with my mother and we went through the recipe so that she would make sure that I understood how it actually worked. And there are two reasons why I chose this recipe. The first one has to do with the creaminess of Turkey a la King and the high acid of the Riesling. They always work well together. The second reason is because of the pastry. The pastry is a fatter, more dense kind of food, and the inherent fatness or heaviness of the wine because of the barrel fermentation lends itself to that quite well.
The recipe sounds delicious, Darcy, and I know it is one that I definitely will be planning to make and to try with the wine. So thank you very much for suggesting the pairing as well as getting the recipe and sitting down with your mom. I'm sure it was a very special moment in being able to spend that time with her and talk about the recipe and reminisce over years past of her always making this recipe for the family.
Yeah, it was a lot of fun. And I really hope that everybody gets a chance to be able to prepare this and actually taste it with the Riesling. I think it's going to be a fantastic combination.
Well, Darcy, thank you so very much for sharing all this wonderful information with our Wine Club members. I'm sure that they have learned a lot, as well as I did today. And again, this was just this project that we really wanted to have this exclusivity for you, our Wine Club members, and we really do hope you value and cherish it as much as we do. So thank you so much for being part of our Rockway family. Darcy, thank you for all the efforts and all your hard work that goes into making these incredible wines. We are so very fortunate to have you as our cellar master, and we look forward to more wines that will be being released later on throughout this year. And stay safe, everyone, and cheers.
Yeah, this was a lot of fun. I really enjoyed making the wine. It was a little bit different than what we normally do for our Rieslings. And for a winemaker, anything a little bit different is always a lot of fun.
And thank you for doing that. We really appreciate it, and they look beautiful, and I think a very sentimental and a connection that we are sharing not only with us here but with our Wine Club members. So that exclusivity component that we really want to have our wine members feel like they are part of this Rockway Vineyards family.